Good evening, we're going to get started. Oh, there you go. Thought you had a question. There you go. You're doing this, and we want you to do that. Well, good evening. First, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for caring about our schools, our kids, and our community. So it's, it shows a lot that you're here this evening. My name is Rich T. Barney. I am the county appointed administrator for the Plymouth Unified School District. And we have Andrea White. She is the Plymouth County Superintendent of Schools. So since we're a single, we have a county superintendent, and then in our situation here, I'm the state county appointed administrator for the district. So just from context-wise. And then stopping if something's not making sense to you going forward. But just overview, I want to give you, we did our November community meetings in each of the 4 communities. And then this is our second round through. The first round was really to get input from each community as far as what they value and what they were looking for, what they don't want us to cut, what they could live without, that kind of stuff. And then this one is more focused on considering all those thoughts and then putting out kind of a draft plan of cuts. Okay, so going back to how we got here. A few things is, one, this isn't going to be the most positive meeting you've ever been to. There's a lot of negative stuff. Sorry about that, but that's just where we're at. It's going to be honest and it's going to be candid, and that's that's where we're at. So second, we get a lot of questions on, well, how did we get here? Because our financial hole is so bad. There's a number of reasons why we got here, and a lot of it has to do with just really poor management and really not knowing where the money was, or if you had money, or if you didn't have money, and just spending money and putting money out there. And then at some point it just all came caught up, and that's when the state came in and said, oh, you're in really bad shape. So, so there's a number of things there. The other thing is, I get a lot is, well, isn't someone responsible? Was there fraud and all that kind of thing? FICMAC came in, they did all their studies, and they found that they didn't find fraud. It wasn't like someone was taking money and putting it in their pocket or anything like that. I think it was mostly just bad management, and for for quite a while. So that's that piece of it. So, yes.
My question is, you're going on that it took a while for the schools to get this way.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, as far as when did the state step in? Were there complaints? Where was the oversight? What should have been done along the way to manage it? How responsible is the state for letting this happen?
In my opinion, there's some responsibility there. Basically what was happening, there was a lot of interfund borrowing, like of $10 million going in within the budget, because we didn't really have money to make payroll and that kind of stuff. So they did some of that. There was a $3 million error that occurred, and once that bubbled up, then I think someone at the district office called the state and said, hey, I think we're in trouble. Could you come in and check this out? So that's when they came in and said, yeah, there's some really serious problems. And we'll get into the depth of it. I don't know how deep to go here, but the fact that, so my background is before I came here, I was the Tehama County Superintendent of Schools, and I had 13 school districts. And I had fiscal oversight over those 13 school districts. This would have never happened in Tehama County because we have financial oversight over each one of those districts. They submit their budgets to us, they submit their interim reports to us, and if there was something that wasn't adding up, we would ask questions, we would check, we would do a lot of things way early. So in this situation, we're a single, we're only 6 counties in the state that are a single school district and a single, in the county. And so what happens is, especially in this district, a lot of those responsibilities just really got blurry as far as who did what. And then the reality of it is the California Department of Education technically has the fiscal oversight. So the budgets are submitted to them, et cetera, and they didn't do a great job at that end. And then also our audits, you do your budget, you have your school year, all that, you do your budget, or you do your audit, the audit comes back and it says, oh, you need to work on this, this, and this. Well, those audits were a year late, maybe a year and a half late, and so by the time you got them, they were pretty much worthless anyway. So between the audits, the poor oversight of CDE, and being a single where the responsibilities weren't real clear, those were, the three on the oversight end of things, those were the three things that really didn't work very well that got us here. So just kind of, I don't want to get too far in the weeds and everything, but that's kind of the basics of it. Andrea, they brought Andrea in because we had a superintendent, it was the district superintendent and the county superintendent. When he left, Andrea came in. She did a great job in regards to shifting people around. This wasn't a school site problem. This was a district office problem. So this was the leadership in the district that created these problems. And so when Andrea came in, she reshuffled a lot of people, and I feel like we have some good people in place. As far as the people that were I would consider guilty of mismanagement are not there as far as at the upper leadership level. So that's good. And I came in October. I've learned a lot since October. It's been a whirlwind, but that's where we're at this point. So we are here to continue to get input and to cut a lot. And so we'll get into that. Do you have that slide? So this is the infographic we used last time. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it kind of gives you a perspective of where we're at. First of all, so after the state came in, FICMET did all of their analysis. They said, wow, you're not going to be able to make payroll in September because you don't have any money. And so as a result of that, legislation had to be passed to give us a $20 million loan. $20 million loan for 30 years. The 30 years is significant because the other districts that have been in state receivership in the history of California, which haven't been really that many, Oakland and Inglewood and West Contra Costa, they've all gotten 20-year loans. And because they had a big budget, they give them that loan, and then they can pay it back in 20 years and call it good. When they got to Plymouth, they said, wow, your deficit is so big that we need to give you a $20 million loan, but your budget's only like $43 million. So you're not going to be able to pay it off in 20 years. So we're going to have to give you a 30-year loan. So legislation passed. We got our first apportionment of $8.5 million in September, and that's how we could make payroll. And so those that first box right there, that's not reality. That's like if we never got the $8.5 million, if we never got the $8.5 million, nobody would be here. We wouldn't have staff, kids wouldn't be in school. I don't know really what that would look like, so I don't know if that's even real. But the second box is not going deep into this, but this is after we got the $8.5 million. So then that way it allowed us to make payroll, and I believe the design was to get us at least through mid-year, through Christmas. Well, we figured now we can get through the end of the year with that $8.5 million. And now we are, if we do things right, my plan is to never touch that money again. In other words, not take the 20 million, but just focus on this 8.5, get our finances back in order, and then with the 8.5 million that we've taken, it's going to cost the district $600,000 a year for the next 30 years. The interest rate on it is 6%, which irritates me, but, so 6% interest, 30 years, $20 million, but if we can keep it at 8.5, then we're gonna be a whole lot better off than taking more from that loan. So that's the goal, and we'll see how that goes. And then on the next boxes, so then how much do we need to cut? We need, at this point, we need to cut $9.5 million from the budget. That's about 22% of our budget, and we need to do that like now. We need to, if we can get back to zero, back to ground zero and go from there, we're good to go. Now, there's some really important about that 9.5 million. This is a structural deficit, which means that whatever we cut needs to be cut forever. So if you cut a position that costs $60,000 and you don't refill that position, then that goes against that 9.5, and that's a savings. So that's really good. If you do something that brings you one-time money, it doesn't affect that 9.5. So if you sell a building or you sell a car or something like that, that's great that you have one-time money, you have cash, but it doesn't count against that ongoing structural deficit. Okay? All right, so, and then this is just, it's probably good to have a picture of our enrollment in the district has just constantly been dropping, but our FTE, our full-time equivalent, our staff has been even, it just hasn't dropped with it. So as a result, we continue to incur costs of staff, but less students. And then, and then along with that is during COVID, we got a bunch of extra money, we funded positions, and then we didn't really lay off those positions, we just kept them. And so that's part of the general fund. Sorry, yes?
So $9.5 million, does that include, like, is that including the payback of potentially $20 million, or is that only include $8.5 million? Like, would further cuts end up being necessary if we take each $20?
So yeah, so that 9.5, if we cut 9.5 million now, or close to now, then I believe we won't have to take any more. And then we'll have that 8.5 to pay back, and that'll be $600,000 a year for 30 years. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, so if we only take the 8.5, we need to cut 9.5 million, and that's going to cover that, the payments for the 8.5. But if we end up using more, we have to cut more.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. That makes sense to everybody? Okay. So yeah, so that's where we're at. And there's just the longer I'm here, the more things I find that are surprising to me. I come from a pretty highly functioning organization, and I'll go over a few things on the next on the stabilization plan. That we have some good news for you. So we'll just start going through the stabilization plan. So this is a draft fiscal stabilization plan, and so it's kind of the basics of basically what we've heard from the communities, what they want and what they don't want, and that kind of stuff. And so, first of all, the guiding principles I think are really important. So when we did our community meetings, we did those. We did staff surveys, we did community surveys, we did student surveys. We got like 420 student surveys, which was just like 7 through 12, which was fantastic. They did a great job doing the surveys. And then this is the guiding principles that it kind of all boiled down to. And so the first one, protect core student opportunities. That was important. Begin reductions outside the classroom before impacting instruction. You'll probably all agree with that. Review administrative and district office structures for efficiencies. Strengthen communication and transparency. That's kind of part of what we're doing here and through ParentsWare and Facebook and everything else we can find. Ensure reductions are strategic, equitable, and student-centered. So those are the principles that we go by. But then when we look at those principles, we're going to be making cuts that you can say are not good for students. And that's true. It's that we're going to make cuts that aren't good for students. It's not all good for families. So But we're still going off of those, it's just because of our hole is so big that the things that we have to do are not all good. So we can't keep it all away from kids. Some of the reductions that have been happening, district, position control. This is, this is district office staffing. Last year, this was before I got here, mostly, there was a cut of, what's the total on there?
Sorry,
188?
198.
198, so 198,000. So from the district office standpoint and administration, there was a lot of shuffling that went on, and I credit Andrea a lot for that. So there was some savings there. I think we could probably get a little bit more savings there as well. So that's one piece that's already been cut. The second part of it is that it there? Okay.
Yeah.
Just general workflows, the workflows just weren't in place. As far as signing off on things, money being spent, but not really going through the proper channels, that kind of stuff. Implementing position control for the first time. I've never heard of a district more than maybe 200 or 300 kids that didn't have position control, and I'll get into that in just a minute. And strengthening the internal budget and staffing accuracy, as far as, let's say you lost 20 kids in an elementary school, but you still keep the same number of staff. If you lose students, then, you should probably lose staff. And then might be the only good news for the whole evening, but we went through position control. Position control is, you should know every staff member that you have, what their salary is, what their benefits cost you, what site they're at, just everything about that employee. And then in there, if there's open positions, you should see the open position. So it's a whole giant spreadsheet. Well, they just didn't have position control. So what we did is we went through position control a few weeks ago, and we found $1.8 million in positions that just weren't filled or weren't needed. There was nobody in them, but we were budgeting for those positions. And so that's the good news is, so we're looking at 9.5. So we already got 1.8 from just going through position control. So that's the good news. So that's probably where it ends, but okay. So, and then, so then just concepts of reductions, what can we do to reduce? If you can picture a spreadsheet with a whole bunch of tabs on the bottom of all the different areas, it's maintenance and operation, it's transportation, it's administration, it's Quincy High School, Alder, Pioneer, Portola High School, all those different tabs, and then looking at each one of them and saying, okay, how can we be more efficient in each one of those areas and cut a certain amount and see where we're at. So, so that's where the concepts for consideration. So administrative ratios to be equitable, but then also, according to how many students and staff, and at the district office as well. Transportation department restructuring, teacher-student ratio realignment, and FTE. So, and a big part of this is we can no longer have classrooms with 8 or 10 kids in them. It just doesn't work. We have that now, but we can't have that in the future. Our classroom sizes are going to have to get larger. I'm not talking about 40 kids or anything, but they need to be at a reasonable level. So consolidation of Quincy Elementary, Pioneer to Alder. We talked about that a little bit last time we were here. That's more of a reality at this point. We believe that's doable. And then athletics program restructuring. And so the vision there is that the district would fund personnel costs for athletics. So it would pay for coaches, it would pay for referees and the essentials, but uniforms and things like that would be up to a booster club. Yes?
Talking about the transportation restructuring, is that speaking of you only provide transportation to IDP and foster homeless youth, or?
That could be, so, so we have a bus driver shortage, we have, no mechanics, and we lost our, supervisor for that department. So right before Christmas break, we had like panic, oh my gosh, we can't run this place at all. So we got, on a meeting with our transportation department, with our bus drivers, and said, hey, I don't think we're gonna be able to run transportation for this second semester. They really stepped up and said, well, let us work on this and let us see, if we can kind of consolidate routes. Yeah.
Have you guys had any discussions with working within the public transit to have outsourcing of it?
Yeah, so that's part of this discussion. So they said, we'll, talk to the towing companies because our buses need tows. We need them to be checked all the time. We need mechanic stuff. And so then they looked at some of those services that are local, either Quincy or some in Chester or Greenville area. And they said, well, we think that if we provide one general ed route per community, then we think we can make this work. And so we had enough staff to run that, and of course, special ed transportation, we would continue. So at this point, we're kind of seeing how this works for this semester. And it's a good experiment, I guess, to see how it goes. We want to provide our kids and our families with transportation because we think it's important. But on the other hand, it's been a real struggle. That whole department has been very, very difficult just because we can't fill positions, and it's about $3 to $4 million a year. So if you look at that, it's probably 35 teachers or so. So that's, it's not an easy decision, but it's possible. So we'll see how the spring goes. Yeah.
My concern is attendance. We already struggle in this county with having students come to school while we have provided bus transport in the past. That is the number one concern we have, and in documents you guys provided to discuss that there's a continued need time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take away transportation from families that are low income, but not necessarily foster youth that don't have IEPs, won't that just exacerbate the concern that kids are going to leave the public school system? We're going to have families have to make alternate choices, furthering our concerns of loss of attendance.
Yeah, there's some truth to that, I think. Yeah. So from an educational standpoint, we need to have kids in school. And I'm sure transportation helps with that a lot. So that's super important. On the financial side, our ADA is less impactful than it is in a normal school district. So I'll go through that real quick. We're a basic aid school district. That means that our property taxes are higher than what we would be provided by the state for funding our school district. So when we get our funds, we get funding from our property taxes, and we get very little from the state. So that means that if you weren't like we are, then every ADA would be worth maybe $10,000 or depending on the grade level. And so as a result, when you lose one kid, you lose that amount of money. And so in our situation, financially, it's not as big of a loss if we don't have the high ADA, but we want the high ADA because we want kids to be in school and we want them to be engaged in our schools. So the negative part of losing money is not quite as significant, but we want kids in school and we want them to get to school. So I don't know if that completely answers your question, but yeah.
Does that also mean if you cut bus routes completely that kids can't go on field trips then if we don't have a bus system for that?
Yeah, I mean, that's another, that's all about, that's all the challenges that we're facing. That's a good point. We've gone through all of this. And then also you mentioned the public busing, bus system, working with them. There's different options. They're not all great options, but there's some options there. So, and then the other thing is so for special ed, we could provide a lot of those routes with a van instead of a bus. So that would be a much cheaper way to go. Yeah.
Do you have a grant writer on staff that can research or look at grants and test these areas that you guys are writing?
We have someone that deals with grants, we don't have someone that goes out and finds them. A lot of the grants in schools come from the state, like, kind of automatically, and then we just have to do the application for them. And we have a lot, and we have, all of our after-school programs, our extended learning opportunities program, we have a lot of different grants. A lot of the grants come through the county office side of things, and then are funneled to the district, so we do have that. So then it'd be debatable, do we hire a grant person? I don't know, so, yeah.
Just a thought, and I don't know if this is feasible, but like to consider partnering with philanthropy in the region, like perhaps Armor Community Foundation or something, to think about like creating some kind of schools foundation. I know Sierra Schools have the Sierra Schools Foundation that raises private money to fund
That's
school
fantastic.
districts, so just something
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I know, we have, our sports are a big one. If somebody who's really into sports, and you have a 501c3 that you can, funnel $500 in and help them with their uniforms, then that's fantastic, or whatever other, situation there might be. And that, I think that's really where we need to go. And I've heard people that have been here a long time say, well, when I was a kid, we had to buy our own jerseys, and we had to pay for this, and had to pay for busing and all that kind of stuff. So it's not, it's definitely doable. What was that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering, will the secure rural funds that apparently this Fed's decided to turn loose, is that gonna make a significant impact on us?
It's gonna make a significant cash difference to us. So it will help us just to have money in our bank. It's not going to help us long term, like it's not gonna affect that 9.5 because we can't count on it year after year.
Right.
But it is an amount that we can look to, when we get tight, we can make payroll with it or whatever. Yeah.
Do we know how much of a commitment they have made, whether this year it's good? And if they said 2 or 3, I mean, I know those folks in Washington can change their minds tomorrow.
No, well, the president actually signed it, so we're getting the 24, 25, and the 25, 26 money. I think Jennifer told me it was 700,000 for the 24, 25, and 900, somewhere around 900 or a little bit more for the 25, 26. So, it's well over $1 million, so that's helpful, yeah. Not for the 9.5, but it definitely is helpful, yeah.
Just a reminder that school fees are illegal, so school fees are illegal in California.
Oh, yeah.
So we cannot actually charge kids for the uniforms. We will have to fundraise for them, but kids are not required to buy them.
Correct, right. Yes.
All of the cuts you're talking about, I don't agree with them, of course.
I don't either.
I know. But I understand they're necessary. But recently at the district office, you created a new position of an administrative assistant to human resources. That's a direct effect. Or
We didn't create a new position.
withdrawal.
I don't know about that position.
I do. It's in your board agendas under personnel. And currently you're advertising for a business officer.
Right.
And I'm kind of feeling that person's gonna want an assistant also.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully I'm wrong.
Sorry, with the meeting, we did not hire or create any new assistant positions.
To,
We filled open
human
positions.
resources, you did.
They did not get a new assistant, but I can talk with you afterwards so you can look at
There was a new one that was
it. We filled an
hired
open
and,
position.
I'm sorry.
I think what she's saying is that there was an opening that we filled, and didn't create a new position. Is that? Yeah.
I can talk with you afterwards, so you can.
And on
explain
the
to me.
business position, our business person is leaving and we're replacing that. And there's no way in the world
Right,
we're
I
going without a
understand.
business person.
I knew she was intern.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes,
Since you touched on the business department, how much effort is there to looking to outsource those issues to a bigger firm with more experience? They're more efficient, and we also seem to be having a lot of problems in on-the-job training. How much effort is being looked at that direction?
There hasn't been a lot, that came up last night as well. We haven't looked a lot at outsourcing that. When I got here, a few of those people were new, so then it's like, okay, they're new, let's get them trained, let's get them, you know, what they need to do to get the job done. I think they've come a long way, but I know you don't necessarily agree with that. But yeah, so we're in that process. So the outsourcing, a lot of times in a school district, the outsourcing would like go to the county office, and the county office would say, you know, they would do maybe the HR or the payroll or something for the district, but that's not our situation because we're kind of all the same. Charter schools do a lot of that back office contracting. Don't really see it in school districts much, but it's not something, no, to answer your question, no, we haven't considered that. I don't, you know, I know it's expensive, but, you know, I agree with you, whatever happens, it needs to be done right, so.
So I guess my question was, what we are doing, are we going to look into that as an option?
We can, yeah, actually, I think, yeah, Andrew was doing a little bit of research on it, and we certainly can. I need to find a school district that has done that so that I know the success of it. And so that, yeah, if you can help with that research, that'd be great. You know, it's worth going down that road. Yes.
Who's paying for the training that you're talking about with these district employees?
Training,
Paying
oh,
for that
training.
training, for these new positions that they're not trained to be.
The district and the county office, yeah, we have to train them, so, yeah.
Is it affordable to keep training people that aren't working compared to outsourcing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened before we got, I mean, I have an idea what happened before I got here, but, you know, when I come in, there's some new people, that's fine. I've had a lot of new people in my career, it's not a big deal. You get them good training and then they become good employees and they do a good job. That's my vision for it, but may or may not work with everyone, so.
Well, we don't train all employees.
What's that?
We don't train all of our employees.
Right.
So the district office employees get trained, but when we, as a special educator, when we have staff coming into our rooms, there's no training. It's throwing you into the position and good luck to you. So I guess I struggle to hear that we're providing training for the district office staff. And we ask year after year after year for training for our staff in the classrooms, and that's not.
Well, that's past practice, and that's not what'll happen. I want highly trained people in their positions, whether you're a teacher, a paraeducator, a person working in the district office. We have a responsibility to train you to be the best that you can be. And so if that's what they did in the past, I'm sorry, but that's not what'll happen in the future. If you need training, we'll get you trained. Yes.
I'm kind of you said that with this,
Okay.
but, for the transportation, I like how the stops are a lot more, there's a lot more, far apart, but can we add more stops? Because even though it's more broad, kids are still having to walk like 30, 40 minutes to their houses. I feel like that's kind of, they're not gonna wanna ride the bus if they have to, you know.
Right.
Walk.
Yeah, this specifically affects her.
Okay.
She recently found out this week that, yeah, she has to walk like 30, 40 minutes home, or us parents have to pick her up and drive her home.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it's always not like, parents can't always pick up their kids, so.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a legitimate concern. And the bus department has done a good job of working with what we have, but we need to continue to make those routes as accessible as possible. It's probably not going to be, it's definitely not going to be door to door. So, yes.
Has a committee or something been put together to discuss these concerns? As far as like researching solutions, so if we have kids that are having to walk a distance, are we having a carpooling system put together, or we're in a community, some way that we can fill these gaps? Or is there a team, a coalition, subcommittee to address these concerns? If we're gonna take away transportation, if we're gonna do all these different things, are there people being put together to address these?
No, we haven't done that, but it's something to look into. Yes.
I would like to add on to this transportation concern, But my kids who live off of Upside Road down in the valley, and initially when we moved here, I was told my children should not be crossing the highway to get home. And they currently have to do that, plus walk 50 minutes to their home. As a working parent, I'm not able to just jump up at 3:10 and drive my children and spend a half an hour driving back and forth to work. I'm just wondering if there's a way to address the safety issues within Meadow Valley, and particularly the numbers of people who are dropped off for tourist spots, and just reevaluate the safety of what we need out there.
Is that like is that a new route compared to before
I
Christmas?
believe the stops that are listed in Meadow Valley are
Well, we could combine 3 routes into 1.
right.
If you have children who are crossing the highway, please contact me and I'll figure out a way to not have that happen this weekend.
Good. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
We talked about this a little bit when you came to our site, and I'm wondering if there's someone within our district that, with that funding mechanism, okay, we're single, basic aid, and here's property tax. Do we have advocates that are meeting with legislators and that are talking about this? Because this seems like the most appropriate time to be advocating at a legislative level for a different type of funding for some of these small school, these rural districts. Because although we're in the worst probably financial trouble, there's other districts that are having problems. And it seems like if there was an individual or a group of people or whatever that were advocating on our behalf, meeting with other districts that were talking to legislators, that they would be wanting to take a better look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. The California County Superintendents, which Andrea is a part of, have been addressing that issue. They're a very strong voice in California. I've worked with Small School Districts Association, which is another organization that advocates in Sacramento for these issues. And so, yeah, things don't happen real quick, but yes, the advocacy is happening. The Small School Districts Association, and I used to be part of that, is they advocate with Capital Advisors, and Capital Advisors is another educational group that they have the ear of the legislators. So these messages are going there in the right direction, and I think Plymouth is a big deal in the state of California. You know, no one's ever been in this state or in this situation. So we can be a real impetus for change in the state because of how bad we've gotten. You know, I guess you could say we're infamous, not famous, but so the examples that happen here are going to really shape those conversations. And so the county superintendents are looking at that. And then there's an organization at the state level that's just looking at funding and the local control funding formula in general, as far as redistributing some of those benchmarks and stuff within the formula. So that stuff is going on, and we are involved. Tomorrow we have a conference call with California Department of Education and PICMAT, and I bring these things up every time. There's like 3 things that they're getting tired of hearing, but I'll continue to pick them up. Yes.
What was the group you said that is active, the first one you mentioned?
California County Superintendent.
So I'm sorry,
Yeah, California County Superintendent.
California
Yeah.
counties.
Superintendent. So there's 58 counties in California, and there's a county superintendent in each one of those counties, and their organization is very powerful in the state. So,
Have they looked into how this actually happened? I mean, because it was over the course of time and nobody was, my feeling is like nobody was paying attention.
they were.
Right, well, somebody at the state level, because it's like, it's really easy to blame the county because it happened here.
Sure.
And it's our staff, but my feeling is, where was the state with all of this? There's gotta be responsibility on their part, more than pointing the finger at us, we're making the cuts, we're dealing with it. Who's ultimately at the top was not, let the gate open.
Yeah.
Because they weren't paying attention. Do you have any idea?
I think well, just my opinion, CDE, California Department of Education, had a lot of responsibility that they didn't take care of.
So CBP is.
Yeah, so I mean, because they were really fiscal, so basically, in Tehama County, if this happened in one of my districts, it would be my fault, because I had fiscal oversight over that district.
So who had responsibility over this, say,
California Department of Education. Yeah,
and
that's,
there's no one person, it's just strictly some, that's what I'm wondering, is there a person who, or a group of persons, or somebody at that level who actually just wasn't doing their job?
yeah, I'm not sure who's, it's a big organization where you say, oh, you're a new employee, okay, we're gonna give you, Plymouth Unified School District, do the oversight for them, and they say, okay, and they don't know what they're doing, apparently, that would be my take on it anyway. So there's definitely some blame there.
So has anybody ever looked at the legal responsibility or the legal,
I think FICMAT looked into that a little bit, and so what they're doing is they're changing legislation, for single singles and the fiscal oversight.
they being,
FICMAT. So FICMAT is pushing the legislation to change, the way single singles are managed.
okay, but in the meantime, we're paying for what they dropped the ball on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and see, and I think there's not enough of that going on, because we're all looking at, oh, these people, everybody here has failed, and we're all punishing. But I'd like to see a little more attention on, okay, where's the state then through all of this?
Yeah.
Because I think that's where they had jobs to do, and maybe things were happening here, but they weren't paying attention.
I agree. Yes, sir.
I just want to ask you a quick, I don't understand what the county superintendent does. What's the job?
Nobody does, yeah. So I was a county superintendent in Lassen County and in Tehama County. And so I'm very familiar with county superintendent responsibility. So in a multi-district county, the responsibility of the county superintendent is fiscal and academic oversight over the districts. And so, for example, in Tehama County, they had to submit all their budgets to us, all their interim reports to us. So we did all the financial stuff. And then in addition to that, we had the academic oversight. So then when a district wasn't doing very well academically, then we would come in with our people that we hired in the county office, and we would provide direction, professional development, different things to help that district become better academically. So those are like the big requirements. But in addition to that, the county superintendents we ran preschools, we ran after-school programs, large after-school programs. We did infant toddler stuff. We have a large HR department to help our districts, a large business department to help our districts. We did teacher inductions as far as new teacher training for the region. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that we do, that we can do that aren't mandated, but the two big ones is fiscal oversight and academic oversight. And so, all except 5 of the county superintendents are elected positions, and so those people are on the cycle, for a 4-year cycle to be elected, so that's why it's a little different than, say, a district superintendent that's hired. Now, in a single, it's just kind of weird, because if you need a district superintendent, you hire that district superintendent, and then you say, oh yeah, you're gonna be the county superintendent too. And so, if you look at their salary or whatever, you're gonna get this much of your salary to be the county superintendent and all this to be the district superintendent. And what happens is, that way the board can get rid of the superintendent much easier. Yeah.
So just to follow up, so from what you're saying, that makes me believe that the superintendent that we had, the superintendents that we had in the past, they were both county and district.
That's correct.
So then they were also responsible for the fiscal wherewithal happening in the district.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure.
I know, it's kind of hard to piece it all together, but yes, that's true. All right. We haven't gotten very far, but here we go.
I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for taking over a question.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you. Second, so no bus drivers were laid off? They're just for positions, or they're open positions for drivers?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's all like patrol at Chester?
Right, yeah. We had some, like retirees that we're helping, and we're trying not to bring them in, just because it's just extra cost, you know? But if we do one, route per community, then we can do that with our existing regular drivers. Okay, where are we? So priorities, just from our community, input, athletics was a big one, band, music, arts, career technical education, vocational programs, after-school programs, and ELOP, nutrition services, and college and dual enrollment partnerships. Now, one thing that we need to understand about this, so when all this happens, you're gonna say, well, why did they keep this and they got rid of that? And so there's restricted money and unrestricted money. So we're talking about the unrestricted part of the budget. That means we can just put the money where we feel like we need to put it. The restricted part is generally like our grant money. Some of it comes from the county office, a lot of it does. And so, you know, you'll see someone stay employed that you think, well, that's not really necessary. Well, it's grant funded and it's, you know, categorical funded. So it's not going to help our bottom line to eliminate that position because it doesn't help at all. But it does benefit kids, and that's why we have it. So that's, I think, important to understand. And so like our after-school programs, those are categorically funded. ELOP is Extended Learning Opportunities Program, so that's even more money than we get for after-school programs. So our after-school programs, I expect to grow in the future. I think they will, you know, improve. Well, I think they will improve because we're going to probably hire additional staff with that grant money to improve our after-school programs and get more participation. And so that will help with student engagement, academics, and all that kind of stuff. CTE and vocational programs, those are not 100% categorical funded, but there's a pretty good chunk of like grant money in the CTE programs. You know, nutrition services, that's just a priority. People believe that we need to make sure that we're feeding kids and doing it well. Agreed. And then the college and dual enrollment at the high school level, people felt like that was something important to keep as well. Okay, what's next? So areas, again, for probably the top two for savings were district office staffing and administrative costs, as well as transportation restructuring. Community concerns, again, desire for improved communication and transparency. Fear of losing programs that define student experience. So it's one thing on the academic side to give them their academics in a responsible way, but then we also have to keep kids engaged as well. It can't be, you know, more boring and, you know, snoozing to come to school. So we've got to keep kids engaged as well. And then the community is like, don't make a whole bunch of rush decisions that aren't good decisions, and then we end up regretting them later. And then get a lot of questions on timeline. So the fall and winter here, we've got a lot of community input. So this is our draft stabilization plan. Issue staffing notices in January. So there will be layoffs, but those staffing decisions will happen in January, and actually the pink slips will go out, I believe, in February, so that we're way ahead of the March 15th deadline. Oh yeah, and then the Quincy campus consolidation, that's not always the most popular thing in Quincy. The other communities, by the way, they love that idea. And then the spring, finalizing our staffing and making sure that we have people to cover the things that need to be covered, and then just budget adoption and just going from there. So we're hoping that we get to a point that we're close to the 9.5 million, and we can just go from there, not take any more loan from the state, and then if we get back to even like that, then we can start growing programs and doing things like that. But we've got to get back to equal. Yes?
With the consolidation of the campuses, as also as reviewing the maintenance of the campuses, is there any plans for upkeep and or improvements to the classrooms to provide more state-of-the-art, classrooms or improvements to the classrooms at Alder campus?
Yeah, so what we did is we looked at both campuses, we said, okay, Pioneer is flat, it's great, it'd be the great place to, do all the kids there. So when we did that, we said, yeah, that's good, we brought in an architect, and she went in and looked at the place and said, you know, we're way out of compliance with ADA, the bathrooms are not ADA compliant. She said, this is gonna cost a lot of money to retrofit the school. So then she said, let's go look at Alder. So we went and looked at Alder. That has had recent upgrades up there. The bathrooms are in good shape. The ADA accessibility is in good shape. So it's pretty good. The one thing about Alder is we have 4 modulars up there that are fairly old that we would like to basically change them out. And we can do that because we still have bond money from the bond that was passed in 2017 or something like that. So any of those retrofit or anything that we can do to improve those campuses or that campus can come from bond money and it won't be out of our general fund. So on the Pioneer campus, there will still be Head Start there. We have other programs that are paying, like, you know, for storefronts that we could bring onto that campus because we don't want to leave the campus empty. It would not be good to do that. So we can bring those on and we can get rent from those programs to help just, you know, ongoing income there. So that's kind of the vision for Pioneer and Alder and where it came from. And so then the 6th graders would be here at Quincy Junior High School, Quincy Junior Senior High School. They'd be on the J-wing, probably on the end. And talking to Jason, they would be, you know, fairly isolated from the juniors and seniors and all the big kids. And I think we have pretty good confidence that that's going to work really well. And there's another point there, but yeah.
I've just noticed as part of leadership at the school that even 7th graders now are being heavily influenced by juniors and seniors to start doing bad things such as like vaping, stuff that they really shouldn't go down. So bringing the 6th graders here is kind of concerning that it will just start those problems sooner because it's not very isolated. Like, I have a brother who's in 8th grade and I see him all the time and I see a lot of other 7th and 8th graders all around the school, and it's like with the shared facilities, it's hard to not have such a big influence from the juniors and seniors on the younger kids who think that they're really cool.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I want to.
Yeah, you know, the 6th graders at Alder right now are in one classroom all day. They don't move throughout the campus, generally speaking. And that's what would happen here. They'd be in one classroom in the J-wing. There's no passing period. They wouldn't use the restroom in the J-wing. Wouldn't be on this side of the campus at any time. We're also exploring separate nutrition and lunch for the 6th graders. Their classes would take place in that self-contained classroom so that we can maintain their safety as much as possible. That's the #1 priority.
Would they be in more with the 7th and 8th graders? Or are the 7th and 8th graders separated from the high schoolers, or are they?
The 7th and 8th graders are separated from high school as much as we can, but because of our student population, our staffing size, we can't have just 7th and 8th grade middle school teachers. Our middle schoolers or our 7th and 8th graders have teachers that teach high school classes in other places.
They do both, from 8th to 7th on, they teach both.
But in the 6th grade, that wouldn't take place.
Have you talked to other schools who had 6th grade at the high school?
There are, and we're continuing to research that as well.
Because I've seen it at other schools and it really wasn't that great. So I have concerns, but I mean, I think you can do what you can.
We have the ability with a wing that is generally not used. Those classrooms are occupied, but they can be occupied by people in different spaces on campus so that we can provide a secure location for 6th graders.
I mentioned last night that I just feel bad for 6th graders because when they're on an elementary campus, the kindergarten parents don't want them there. Then when they're on the high school campus, then, you know, that's not going to work either. So poor 6th graders. So, yes.
We should be really concerned for our 7th graders too.
What's that?
We should be concerned for our 7th graders too. As a parent of a 7th grader, we have a staff member
come over for the last 7 years, their anxiety starts skyrocketing because they're thrown into the high school. And just like you said, they're being influenced. Their depression and anxiety goes up. They start getting hospitalized around 5150s because of the stress and anxiety. So I don't think we should be looking at this isolating 6th graders. We need to look at it as a 6, 7, 8, and how, and I know it's hard with staffing and teachers, but we need to protect our children's mental health too.
And maybe
It's
we
not
can,
okay what's happening
yeah.
to them.
maybe we can do a better job from the scheduling standpoint, we'll definitely have to,
Is there any capacity with the, I'm not familiar with the it's much minor, but is there any capacity with doing to consider like consolidation of stuff 6, 7? I just said that, okay. Which is a indication of the issues, right? Talking about that.
It's been a discussion in the past, but the logistics of it, we haven't been able to figure that out. But the safety of those kids is a constant.
So no hope for a middle school at any time until the next, 40, 50 years? Yeah. After the budget goes? Unless the state wants to take some responsibility for all that. So that's, I mean, because it is concerning. It's like, yeah, more so now than it is in the past, I see that.
yeah, sorry.
That's okay. You mentioned that there's still money from the Measure B bond.
Right.
We do not currently have an oversight committee that's been meeting and supervising that as legally required. And I know that because I'm on it.
Okay. Did you get an email?
I got an email and I haven't heard a single thing since.
It's because we didn't know what we were doing, but now we will convene it.
So I just want to make sure that we're gonna start that back up.
So after I got here, they had told me, well, we have a committee, but we haven't met in 100 years, and I'm like, okay, well, let's get a hold of them, see if they're still interested, just, establish that, and then we can, and then I didn't want to leave before we figured out Pioneer Alter, because that was gonna be a piece too. So we will call a meeting and get the heads together and figure out what we're
The
doing.
last thing I heard was that we had spent all of our money, so that is news to me.
Yeah, no, my understanding is we still have money, so, which is probably not good either, that's good now, but.
It may have been a reimbursement because we did apply for a lot of modernization funds and stuff like that, so it may have come back in.
Oh, could be.
That might be working.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the history. And, let's see. So, we'll continue to communicate. This was our second round of community meetings. We'll keep putting things out on Parent Square, on our website, on Facebook. FICMAT came out with our latest report that they did, that's like 167 pages or something like that, that is, we'll get that up, they just came out with that. It's not very good, there's not a lot of good news in it, but we'll put that up on the website. If you have insomnia, you can take a look at that. So it'll be, it's like, there's nothing really good in that whole report, so. But then, the good thing is next year, they'll give us another one, and I expect there to be progress from where we are right now. So, other than that, I think that's all I have, unless you have a question.
Yeah, I think it's important to be fiscally responsible. And I feel it's important to, cut the things that didn't make sense or that were misspent. But at the same time, I feel like we're gonna be potentially cutting some things that none of us want to lose. And I feel like you've done a good job of reaching out to the parents and to the students, but what about to the larger community that doesn't have students? The schools are supported by a community and a county.
Right.
So has there been any discussion about, property taxes? Once we get to, cutting all the things that we need to cut, and we say, hey, we're this, like, let's say $2 million short, is that something that we can have a referendum for? And like ask the community, like the county?
Like, you're talking like a tax measure or something like that?
Yeah.
Actually, I talked to the county, yeah. And what's that?
The board of supervisors.
The board of supervisors. So they're planning to put out something like that. And so I asked, well, can we kind of just jump on that? And the answer was no, because in order to do that, it would require a larger threshold than what would otherwise be required. So when they put out their bond, it's going to be just for general stuff. It's not going to be specific to anything. And so, so we're not able to jump on that, but it doesn't mean that we can't look at other avenues. And I think it's really important to take a look at that. Because there's not really any other big taxes. Our sales tax, my understanding, is lower than most places around us. So that would help to get that. If there was somebody there.
Are there any plans to cut the arts or music reading of that sort?
If you just look at that in concept, no, there's not. But again, we have to right size our staff with our students. So if you have an art class that's a really class and you have 2 kids in it, then yeah, we can't run that art class. But if you have enough interest, then yeah, we'll run it for sure, you know. And then also that art and music stuff, we have Prop 28 money that is targeted to that, so that's really helpful to have that as well. So there's not plans to do that, but it's like anything else. If we don't have a full section, then it's going to definitely be looked at. Yeah.
The presentation that you had on the screen, is that available online?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I think that was also sent out in Parent Square, and it's on our website. Yes?
I know I've talked to you about this before, and it's not really relevant with Jason, but some of the other sites and their master schedules can greatly impact enrollment in certain classes. Do we have any safeguards to make sure that admin and are being more collaborative to make sure that their decisions on scheduling don't negatively impact specific programs that they need to prepare for, or that make it hard for people to take classes that they would otherwise want to take?
Yeah, so what we did is we met with all the principals, I think it was last month, we kind of started this process, and this next week, we'll be meeting again, and we'll be going through all those master schedules to make sure that they're efficient, and making sure that, you know, there's choices for kids. So that's our next week project. And really, my plan is by next week to really have those master schedules just done, and then we can kind of go from there. Yes?
Is there a timeline and like next steps of when the community would have more information about specific cuts needed?
January meeting, February meeting, we will have, basically we'll have that on the February agenda. So if you're interested, the February agenda will have, I didn't want to use the word cuts, but yeah, cuts on the February agenda. But we will also be meeting with our bargaining unit members prior to that, and just having meetings in general. So we're not going to do more community meetings again anytime soon. We probably will in a while, but not anytime soon. We did November and January.
I have to ask it now.
Yeah.
So besides, you said there's predicted or like the forecast to trend in like a slow decline in attendance? At the beginning, you said that future attendance looks like it's gonna be on the decline, so you're not getting that money.
I think I was referring to our past. It just.
Do you have a forecasted trend for attendance? And if it does show a drop, is there any feedback besides people moving? Because if it's not moving, there's people, like the charter has a wait list.
Right.
So I'm seeing what, if it's not just from people moving out of Quincy or Columbus County, is there other feedback for the drop in attendance?
As far as options, or, I'm sorry, I don't think
So
I'm.
I can help a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quick on the graph that you shared, that was attendance from 2014 to current. So that attendance has been going down since 2014.
So are we talking about enrollment?
Enrollment, sorry, enrollment, sorry.
So that's what the current data shows. Anybody, anywhere has any forecast trends or predictions?
Well, the enrollment continues to decrease, of course. So one of the things that we put in place this year, and I believe it was in place in the past, but I don't know if it kind of fell to the wayside, I'm not sure. I'm only been for a little over a year, but we have a survey for exiting families to see why they're leaving. Like, is it the school? Is it the economy? You know, what it is, so we can start getting a better idea. And if
we
it's,
don't have those results back. Okay.
no, so, but that's what we wanna start giving families when they start exiting.
Okay,
And then the other thing with the charter, they have a cap.
they do, yeah.
Yes, and they asked us to increase the cap and we declined that. So they won't be able, they don't have, if they're at their cap, they can't take any more students.
Because yeah, the families that aren't moving, I know just a lot of it's a small town, I know the people that are moving to charter.
And it's really hard in our area right now. It's not, I mean, it's really devastating what's going on with our schools right now, but overall in general, in the county, there's just a lot of things going on with the economy
Absolutely.
and housing and all of those things, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
To touch on the like music program, and you mentioned the charter school, so that's kind of jogging my memory on that. I feel it's like super important to, I know you said it's not planned to cut, but we need to keep that, especially for Quincy. We only have one music teacher who does all the elementaries and the high school. So I don't see like the benefit of cutting that. And the charter doesn't have a music program, because I applied for her to be in charter, she got in, but since there's no music program, she's not interested.
Yeah. We have to keep our
And it's
assets.
like proven that studies that in English, students perform 22% higher in English and 20% higher in math if they're actively engaged in like a music program. So like, as a parent who has a child who struggles on multiple things, music has been a safe place for her. So it's like, I really don't want that to get cut, because as a parent in Quincy, she doesn't have any other option, not even charter.
My understanding that our Quincy program is pretty strong, so I don't have as much concern about that, yes.
I'm wondering about elementary education, music education, because it's really important that they have that foundation. I'm a senior here, and I've been in band since my 7th grade year, and I'm struggling as a senior who's played for so long to have fundamentals that kindergartners know because of our music teacher and our music program. So I'm just wondering if there's any plan to cut elementary music education.
There's no plan for that. Everything's on the table, but no, there's no plan for that. Yes.
So I just have a concern on my end at the elementary level, that in the future, there might be a question of combining classes. So for example, it would be a 4-5 combo or 3-4 combo. And I just want to hear just whatever comment you might have about that, but I also just want to say, from my standpoint, probably some other teachers' standpoint, it's just a really bad idea. You know, because it just makes your job even more difficult when you have to teach 2 separate classes at the same time. So,
Agreed.
does that look like that may happen, or?
It may happen, yes, yeah. So you think of Greenville. Greenville had 2 big concerns. One, they didn't want us to close their school, and we're not planning on doing that. And the other big thing was they didn't want combination classes. Well, I said, we're not closing their school, but if the numbers aren't there, we're having combination classes. So, it just depends on enrollment in the class, and that's all we can do, you know? I know it's not best for kids, that's why I said earlier, a lot of this stuff isn't, and it's not best for staff, but it's what we have to do. $9.5 million is a lot of money. Yes?
Just piggybacking off of what you said, as a student who is in a 4-5 accommodation class, I mean, I pretty much missed out on my whole year of California history, and so it's not good for the students either. And I understand, like, you know, push comes to shove, sometimes you don't have other options, but I mean, you need to prioritize the students when it comes to that.
I agree. And so trying to avoid that for sure, no doubt about it. But, you know, if you've got 12 third graders and, 9 fourth graders, we can't run it that way. So, yes.
Question as far as, I know we used to get money for timber sales, and I know they changed the format of how that works. And now we're getting the 700,000 and 900,000, I believe it is. Did we get more money then versus what we're getting now, and was it consistent? And is there a way to get more money from that, where it's on a consistent level?
So are you talking about like when we cut timber?
Yeah, so we used to get, we got a basically money from, which helped us a lot, and I don't know what changed, and I've had a lot of people asking questions on it, and I don't know the answer to that.
It's part of the secure rural schools budget.
Okay,
And that is literally a fight every year for us to see that happen.
okay.
So there is zero guaranteed in the future, but there's possibility. I mean, unfortunately, Doug Lamalfa passed yesterday, but he was our champion for secure rural schools, and he does a really good job, and that's really why we got that money that we did, because he spearheaded that. I mean, I've been in this for a long time in rural areas, and we have fought and fought. I've gone, everywhere trying to fight for that money, and it's never been, what we wanted, what we've asked for is just, continue the same amount of money, or maybe with COLA, and didn't even come close to getting that. So the good thing is we got the money now, because that was a huge victory, but in the future, I think it will just be a year-to-year fight, unless somehow they decide to do it differently. The good news is they did, bipartisanly, they actually agreed to fund it this year, so that was really good news, and I think, it's that much of the federal budget, so it's not that big of a deal, but they can really resist and hold it back. Yes?
So I know there's two pots of money, and like the school side has that in it, and then the county side.
Right.
Can we fund any positions within schools from the county?
Yeah.
Could we do intervention teachers or something funded from the county money?
Yes. Yeah, we do a lot of positions like that currently. There's a lot of positions that are funded like 25%, 75%. There's a lot of positions that are just completely county funded. And then there's positions that are county funded through grants that are 100%. So yeah, definitely.
And how does that get decided? What gets funded through the county?
Well, if it's a grant coming through the county, then it's just a county deal. When I came in, I've never been part of a single, so I didn't know how any of this worked. But the way they've done it in the past is 25, 75% on a lot of positions, and so that seemed to make sense to me. So the county is offsetting quite a lot of the school district funds, even though we're in this terrible position.
And that's like people on sites or just within the district?
Both, yeah. Not like regular teacher positions or anything like that, but more of the specialty type positions.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was like, mainly thinking about intervention teachers. I'm just terrified of those intervention teachers.
Oh, yeah. Yes?
So have administrative staffing at the high school level or other levels to address, for example, at Pioneer and at Alder, there is one administrative assistant, there is not a attendance clerk. But our high school has that, yet there is classes at both sites, all three sites. But has that been addressed about how much administrative staff is on our campus currently, including teachers who are working with students daily, all day?
So at the elementary level?
I would say the high school level.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everything's been on the table. Every position's been on the table. So yeah, we've had those discussions for sure. Yeah.
I'll speak to that because I'm one of those support people that's looking at getting half-time. I actually had written something that, I'm the school counselor here, been the school counselor for 9 years. 3 years ago yesterday, we had an incredible threat of violence and a suicide attempt on campus. And Jason was the vice principal, I handled it, Nurse Jessica handled it, and our student services coordinator handled it, all at the same time. We had all been halftime before that, and we were full-time now. Had we been halftime that day, it could have been a very different day. And it just seems to me like, yes, we want our teachers in there, they need the best education possible, but for a school to run smoothly, you need the people behind the teachers, and at the very least, it will run smoothly, and at the worst, it's not safe. And so, so that's a concern to me, not just for my job, but for everybody else. In addition to that, we're getting Success 101, which is our school class that allowed kids to do career exploration, figure out what they want to be. One of my favorite parts of my job is helping kids figure out what you want to do next. If you want to go to the military, if you want to go to a 2-year, 4-year trade school,
If we could cut Success 101 and cut this position, there's not gonna be any time for that. The 3 parts of my job are academic, social, emotional, and college and career readiness. And I will be subject to doing test prep, scheduling, and academic bookkeeping. And this is too hard a job to do that. It's not fun. Because that's not fun. What's fun is working with kids, what's fun is getting in there, getting to know them, being there when there are crises, being there when they just need somebody helping them figure out what's next. And so yes, I understand, I am not a teacher, and I love our teachers, and our teachers need to be there. But there are other positions in the school that allow teachers to do the best teaching that they can do. And without them, schools are just different, and it's hard right now. And so yeah. So I know it's one of the ones that's being looked at, and you guys have to do it. I do not envy your position, but I just know that that's another kids and our vice principal. It's fantastic, and just, yeah. So don't envy your position, but just know that those are ripple effects that certainly impact, I would hope my students here would think it would impact them, but it would certainly impact the teachers as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, student mental health is huge, safety is huge, and so we can't just strip it down to nothing. So, but on the other hand, we're looking at all of it. We have to look at all of it. But I completely agree. All right.
I guess the question, just ballpark, if you had a spitball today, like how many positions do you think, ballpark, you would lose in each school? Just shoot straight. Like, what do you think?
It depends on each school, or it depends on the
Let's
school.
go with Quincy right here.
District-wide, I think, from a teacher standpoint, we haven't got all through this, so.
I get it, I'm just
The
asking.
ballpark on the teachers is probably, district-wide is probably in the teens or high teens, somewhere in there. Classified, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different classified positions, and there's so much bumping and that kind of stuff. I'm not sure.
I mean, the situation that my family would be in is that if my wife was not here at school,
Right.
it's not like she goes down the road and finds another job here.
That's the
That means
problem.
it's most likely somewhere else in California or somewhere else in the United States. So we need to know those metrics as soon as we can, because us and the other 19, 20, 30, 40 people that are gonna lose jobs, we need to figure out how we're gonna sell our homes, get new jobs, and figure out where we're gonna live.
And that's why we're on it early. We don't want anyone to be surprised, and so that February meeting, that's where that will come out. These will be the effective positions, won't have names, but these are the effective positions, and then people will know. And then generally speaking, also like you go through that process, and then after that process, you continue to evaluate and reevaluate to see what you really need. And you might get to the point where actually we, didn't think we needed that position, but actually we do, and we bring it back,
I mean, there's gonna be teachers and support staff in here that are gonna be in the same exact position. And that can continue to fold over and over and over for years, where that's gonna affect the entire community.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the others, but I mean, Quincy's pretty comparable to the other schools as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's a.
Yeah.
You
Trying to do it.
continue to spin.
Empathetically, and yeah, it's tough, no doubt about it. It's tough on the individuals as well as the community. We don't want to lose good people, so. But, so we're not gonna wait till March 15th, for people to know what's going on. Middle of February, people will know where they stand, and then plan accordingly. So, and that's as fast as we can do it. We've been working on it a lot.
Just be fearless.
Yeah, right.
Be fair, give us enough time to.
Karen, yeah, no doubt about it, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, sorry for all the bad news, but I think we're gonna get through this, stronger, and I think that we're going to be more efficient, and I guarantee you the district office is gonna be more efficient and effective than it's been in the past. Yes?
sorry, this is kind of back on as well, but what Mr. Fox said, like with the, I know you can't keep everybody, because you have to cut positions to save money, but like mental health positions, like, it can genuinely save lives, like, it has to stay, like, I would try not to cut it as, to the best of your ability.
Right, thank you, that's really good input. And I think that we can maybe save that in different forms, different positions, so definitely. Yes, thank you for the students for your comment, I appreciate it.
Mr. Raw has helped me throughout my entire schooling year, be prepared for where I am today. I've applied to 8 California schools, and I've been accepted back into 4, and none of that would have happened without Mr. Raw for helping me through my mental struggles and helping me sign up for classes that I needed that prepared me to get to the situation I am now with all these options. And just none of that would be possible without her and her position.
I think she's pretty cool.
I'm a big advocate for our foster youth and education students, so, yeah,
Good, and the good thing on the foster youth side and the homeless side is that's dedicated money that we can, help those students with, so. Special ed is state mandated or federally mandated, so, if it's in a student's IEP, we are gonna do it regardless of, we're gonna find a way to do it, so. Alrighty. Well, thank